gonna go straight into it.
All right. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Cruel World podcast. Just wanted to give a huge thanks really quick before we get into this newest podcast episode for all of the love and support that we've been receiving. It's been more than we expected to receive at first, and we are super, super grateful for the views, the engagement, and the likes. All of those things motivate us to keep making more and more episodes, so thank you guys so much for all of that.
Much gratitude.
Update.
So quick update. I've started back at my work, unfortunately. So it's going to take just a little bit longer to make content for y'all, but our goal is to consistently put our podcast up at least twice a month. Preferably the first of the week and last of the week. We had kind of a little vacation that we went to, good old Florida.
We went to a wedding in Florida.
Yep.
And that was definitely a good break for us to take away from the internet, from work, all that. Just take some time off. And so we want to post twice a month, but we also aren't right now like super focused on having a deadline. We want to make sure that the quality of the podcast is still there and that we're not killing ourselves to the point where we burn out. This is like a fun passion project for us, and we want to keep it that way. So thank you guys for your patience as you wait for each episode. We appreciate that.
Totally. So,
all right.
Want to lead us in? Oh,
okay.
You kind of did.
Okay, I guess I'll talk about what topic we're covering today.
Whoever smelt it leads it. That's what they say.
Weirdo. What does that even mean?
No, just lead us in. Go for it. Straight in.
Okay, so this video topic today that we're talking about is going to be on LuLaRoe, which has been a highly requested topic to cover.
Okay.
And their interesting founders and the really shady history of LuLaRoe, or just interesting. This is another anti-MLM video. Our first few videos are kind of anti-MLM or related to the topic, and just topics that I've been wanting to cover for a while but haven't gotten around to. And interesting enough, there's been a lot of turmoil in the anti-MLM community lately. So Riley, what's your input on all of that? Do you have anything you want to say about that before going into this topic?
Don't drag me into this. I like to live a drama-free life.
Yes, he
therefore,
does.
I mean, I'm not even involved in it in the first place, so I'm just kind of like watching the fire.
Yeah. Is there anything that you have
warm.
to say about that? Like your thoughts on like...
I don't know. Everyone's just trying to get the same end goal, which is pushing out educational information towards the audience,
Totally.
Bringing down others doesn't help you.
Yeah. I definitely agree. If you guys have any input and are watching on YouTube, just definitely let us know what you think about all of that in the comments. It's definitely made for some interesting watch time. I'm working on a whole video on all of that topic.
Oh, yeah.
But anyways, let's get into some anti-MLM content on LuLaRoe. As many of you know, LuLaRoe is a multi-level marketing clothing company for women that is notorious for these really funky and not so stylish leggings and shirts and
what are you talking about? They're
skirts.
They're the most faddish, like stylish. They're the most stylish leggings I have ever seen. You see them everywhere, especially at thrift stores.
Yeah. Especially at thrift stores, which are trending. Thrift stores are a cool place to go. So, that might mean
LuLaRoe
something.
Is not.
But yeah, I mean, there's some that aren't that bad, but there's some legging patterns that are just, why would anyone ever think to make something like that?
I don't want a 70s carpet from Target on my legs. Please.
Yes. Yeah. So it's known for being pretty ugly, the patterns, especially on the leggings, and for the quality of the leggings being super thin and breaking or getting holes, or even at one point, leggings were wet and moldy when they were getting sent to customers.
Bit
of a quality.
Yeah.
Bit of a quality control mass production issue. It's one of the bigger MLM companies out there, though, with an annual revenue of $2.5 billion of leggings. It's a lot.
Nice.
Though in recent years, they aren't quite the MLM giant that they once were known to be. We're not going to talk too much about LuLaRoe itself in the company in this episode, but more of the founders, Deanne and Mark Stidham?
Stidham? I would go with Stidham.
Okay.
Rolls off the tongue. Stidham.
Mm-hmm. Because their story is just fascinating. And I think that it's really fascinating to look into the people who start these really successful, but also really scammy MLM companies. I think that there's a lot to learn from that and their story. So that's mainly what we're going to be talking about today.
Hell yeah.
And really quick, we're going to try and make this podcast easier to digest by having like chapters and having chapters on the YouTube video so you can see kind of the different sections that we cover. Let us know in the comments down below if you like that kind of structure. And if you're listening on a podcast or something, let us know if you like.
I mean, this is a podcast.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. And if you're listening on a streaming platform, let us know if you like the way that we break stuff up into certain kind of chapters or groups. We're trying to make it as fun and easy to digest and listen to as possible.
Hell yeah. Let's do this. So Deanne Stidham was one of the founders of LuLaRoe, you know, one of the most well-known of the pair. And she was raised by Albert and Maureen Startup. Funny enough, according to Deanne, the Startup family were like royalty in the Church of Jesus Christ and Latter-day Saints, which is Mormonism. Her father, Albert Startup, was a great-grandson of Hiram Smith, who was the older brother of the church's founder, Joseph Smith. Wow. So Albert was also a direct descendant of the founder of the Startup Candy Company, which was one of the first U.S. candy-filled bars. You know, small world. Royalty in Mormonism and royalty in the candy business. Willy Wonka style, boys. But Deanne Stidham was one of the youngest of 11 kids that Albert and Maureen had. And they were also pretty active members in the Mormon church in Pasadena, California, which is a pretty cool place. Their parents met while going to Brigham Young University, which is in Utah. BYU is a huge Mormon college. You know, pretty much everyone in the Mormon church, like, that's their goal in life, is to go to BYU. So Albert and Maureen, they meet up, they marry shortly after, and have 11 kids, with Deanne being the last, of course. And fun fact, she was a twin. And her twin was... I
didn't know this.
Yeah, her twin sister's name was Diane. So it was Deanne and Diane, the power duo.
That has
the
to
dynamic duo, the Batman and Robin of MLMs.
That has to be so weird to have a twin sister who has almost the same name as you.
That would suck. I wouldn't like that.
Yeah.
And you'll see today, like, we're probably going to get their names mixed up because they're so close to each other.
They're so close.
It's like the difference between accept and accept.
And Deanne and Diane.
Yep.
So let's dive a little bit deeper into this past of Deanne's and talk more about Albert and Maureen's startup and some more about their views on life. So growing up Mormon, of course, you believe in the Trinity, Jesus dying for your sins, modern prophets, as in disciples.
Not like cash prophets.
Yeah. And being obedient to the gospel with some added elements like the story of Joseph Smith. It's complicated from what I remember, but we do love the episode on South Park that covers Mormonism and the story.
Seems pretty accurate.
A lot of people have said it's really accurate about that, but we are, of course, not experts in Mormonism and don't want to disrespect the religion or their beliefs in any way. Deanne's parents seem to be hardworking people, but also pretty wealthy people. They were constantly going through business ventures, their church, family, and their publishings.
Good old authors.
They were authors, which we'll get into pretty soon.
Good ones, too.
Albert helped out in the family candy business and ran a catering company, and Maureen owned a bridal shop. So they were pretty like hardworking, it seemed.
They got to it.
Yeah, did a lot of stuff, which, yeah.
If you have 11 kids, it kind of seems like you have no choice.
Well, yeah, but it's also like, how do you do that and have 11 kids? How do you do all of that?
Put them to work?
Yeah. I mean, I can't even comprehend it. How you could do it. It just blows my mind.
Yeah, from what I read, like all the kids were pretty involved in the parents' work. Like they would like help around. Like the mom had a bridal shop. Maureen had a bridal shop that the kids would work at and stuff. And yeah.
I mean, I have a family that owns a burger restaurant, and their kids help out with that. And I always thought that was kind of cool because they could kind of learn how to work and get a good work ethic.
Yeah, they learned finances early on in life too, and which obviously Deanne did not learn finances pretty well.
Which we'll get into. Yeah. So the couple turned all of this work and maybe the profit that they made from it into a femininity forum that cost $300, where they had sessions where they would teach women how to find a husband.
Nice.
For only $300. You can.
It's not bad. I mean, this is in
a husband.
Yeah, this is in the late 60s. You know, what's $300? You know, inflation was high.
Yeah. So in 1969, the couple published this book called The Power of Femininity.
Oh, yeah.
According to New York Times, the book that Deanne's parents published talk about the idea of being submissive, which also kind of seems like something that the Mormon religion teaches, although of course people can choose whether or not to follow that aspect, and it varies, you know, on the intensity in which someone can believe in that concept. But the startup seemed really all about this idea of women and femininity being about being submissive, kind of not being the leader, but the follower, all of that. The startups recommend in this book that women shouldn't kill their own snakes, basically saying that women should not be self-reliant. And it recommended that women should practice saying in the mirror, literally, I am a helpless woman at the mercy of you big, strong men.
Yeah. Big, strong men.
Like,
because all men are strong and big. And...
like, what the fuck? That's kind of a ridiculous concept. Like,
go in the mirror right now and tell yourself how powerless you are.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's like the opposite of those like positive affirmation things where you're supposed to look yourself in the mirror and say things like, I'm strong, I can do this. Instead it's like, I can't do anything without a man. Like,
go in the mirror and shit on yourself.
Yeah.
That's what they're teaching.
And I mean, I also find it ironic because you'll find throughout, you know, this story, not only did Deanne kind of start her own business, but even Maureen, as we mentioned, owned a bridal shop. It seemed like their family was all about women taking initiative and being involved in business. So to teach this whole concept doesn't make sense to me at all.
Kind of hypocritical.
It's kind of hypocritical and ridiculous to be teaching other people something that you're not even practicing yourself.
Yeah.
But anyways, the book gained a lot of popularity, and they turned this book into an even bigger profit through their femininity forums for $300 a session. You know, I'm just so sick of people with absolutely no authority teaching these courses and having these books where they like just preach these really bizarre concepts that they really have no expertise or authority in.
Oh my gosh, she's attacking my arm right now.
Yeah, the cat's attacking my husband's arm from behind the couch.
Gotcha.
But, you know, it's like if we were to say, you know, if we were to have a course and the whole point of the course would be like advice on marriage, and our advice would be like join the military and buy a house at 21. It's like that's our experience, but we're not experts, and we definitely don't recommend everyone do what we did in life, or we know that like not everything is going to work for everyone. So I'm really feeling like courses like these are so dangerous, and I'm really sick of seeing them all the time everywhere. You know, entrepreneur courses, success courses, like
if you are not licensed, if you're not licensed in any of this stuff, don't be giving out like solid advice to people like, hey, you need to do this now or you're going to be broke. Like Gary Vee, I honestly dislike this man. Like every video that I see of Gary Vee and whatnot, it's just like, bruh, you make, first off, you make no sense. You have circulatory reasoning, and you're not even licensed, dude. You had $1 million to start off with.
Yeah, life is not black and white. And I feel like a lot of these people just give people the wrong ideas about life and what they should do. You know, we all want to know the secret, but the ultimate secret is there absolutely is no secret at all.
But another reason why Marine Startups book was popular is because in the late 60s, that's when the Equal Rights Amendment, the ERA, was getting started, was when Congress was like trying to reform, you know, the equal rights.
They're trying to enact it.
Yeah, they try to enact it. Good word choice. But the ERA was an amendment that was meant to end any legal distinctions between men and women, you know, like the right to vote and the right to do other stuff.
Yeah, just basically like you're seen the same no matter what your gender is.
It's equal rights.
Legally.
But the book was super anti ERA, and that's how the book gained its popularity, is because it was that whole other side. But
it attached to the anti-feminist movement.
Yeah. So Maureen, after the publishing, she became a large activist in the Stop ERA movement. It's a whole ass movement, like anti-maskers.
Yeah, but except for it's anti-feminist.
Yeah, anti-feminist.
Like, which is like, I know there's people that are like, feminism is bad right now and like stuff like that. But the thing is,
just shut up,
like,
man.
This is literally just saying like anti-women having equal rights. That's what this whole movement was. The anti-ERA movement was just like, we don't think women should have equal rights.
Yeah.
Which, you know, and it's so funny because you see this pattern happen time and time again where people try and progress. Yeah. And then there's this anti-movement.
Whenever there's
this is going to ruin everything for everyone.
Whenever there's reform, there's revolt.
Yeah.
But anyways, she joined Phyllis Schlafly's. She joined Phyllis Schlafly's, who was a pretty big politician. But she joined her Stop That ERA movement and eventually became a chairwoman. Wow. So you're in a powerful position, but you're trying to stop femininity. Holy crap.
But you see the hypocrisy here? That's the thing. It's all women leading this movement. It's like, if you're anti-feminist, why would you be leading? And you're like, oh, women should be submissive. Why would you be leading an entire movement about how women shouldn't lead anything? You know, like, It just doesn't make sense to me. It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. I don't understand any of it. And it's also sad that it's majority of women being like, women are not equal.
So Phyllis Schlafly, in her time until she died, was a pretty hardcore conservative who just hated any new idea such as like equality or same-sex marriage or empowering women. You get the gist. You know, she's pretty anti anything positive. Honestly, you're a buzzkill. Totally killing the vibe here. But So with knowing that you can make a safe assumption that Maureen stood for. I mean,
she said as much in her book often.
Yeah, I mean, she made a book about anti-feminism. But you can kind of see like Deanne and Diane's startup, like the startup of the startups. But you can kind of see like where they're coming from, what their background is, like how they think, because, you know, parents are a big role into how people raised. Play out now.
Yeah, I mean, you can grow to think differently, but I think how you're raised sets a lot about your morality and values and all of that. So next we'll talk about Deanne's passion for fashion. Going back to Deanne's startup or Stidham, when her mom, Maureen, is getting into book publishing and her anti-feminism activism, at this time, Deanne is around 15 to 18. And Deanne seemed like a pretty basic teenager. She did cheerleading, made it to the honor roll, all that stuff. I'm not sure if you guys care too much about her high school experience. She
wasn't like a hardcore troublemaker.
Yes. And while growing up, she developed a passion for sewing and would sew dresses for her school plays and with her mom, who was also good at sewing. According to Deanne, her mom instilled in her a keen focus on patterns in necklines, buttons, and the whole nine when it comes to sewing. It sounds like she's kind of boasting on her meticulous and flawless design, which is, I mean, when it comes to LuLaRoe, I'm not sure if meticulous, flawless design,
not really that flawless,
and keen focus on patterns, I'm not sure if those are the words I would use to describe the designs in LuLaRoe.
I would use gross, moldy, moist, and ugly. Moisture.
I mean, even the patterns on the leggings were messy and ridiculous and even looked lazy and mass-produced. So I'm not sure why she talks about attention to detail so much. But once Deanne graduated, she studied fashion merchandising at Brigham Young University and worked as a consultant at a bridal dress shop.
Her mom's bridal dress shop, actually.
Yes. Which, comes in handy, I guess.
Yeah, works out just in case you need to whip up a wedding gown.
Yeah. I mean, more fashion experience,
Sure.
In July of 1978, Deanne married Kenneth Neff Brady of Salt Lake City in a double wedding ceremony with her twin, Diane, who married Brady's cousin.
It's kind of weird, man.
So, to say that again, Deanne and her twin, Diane, had a double wedding at the exact same time with a dude and his cousin.
Bro, just be independent. Like, you don't have to be with your sister 24/7.
I mean,
it feels weird. It feels Alabama-ish.
Yeah. I mean, have you ever heard of something like that ever happening? It just is really what would bring you to do that?
Did that mess with the lighting? This is how I have to get into this position because of all the wires and stuff. And
yeah.
But hey, it's all for you guys. The struggle right here that I'm trying to get comfortable in. All right. Our cats are sending some weird crackhead vibes right now.
So, to recap, Diane and her sister Deanne, or Deanne and her sister Diane.
Deanne and Diane.
Married.
That's a tongue twister.
To like a dude and his cousin.
Good name choice.
At a double wedding.
Yeah.
I just have never heard of anything like that.
Well, I know in some Asian countries they do like rows of weddings.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah. I think. Don't quote me, but I'm not an expert.
Yeah, and also we got married on a random rock spontaneously.
Yeah. Good old A-Bay, upstate New York. It's actually a really cool place.
It is beautiful.
Place.
But
and
yeah,
so my buddy Huffsteller.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So
God bless him.
Who are we to judge someone in their marriage choices?
Was a double wedding to your
cousins.
to a cousin, and it's weird.
They married into the same family.
That's like, I don't know. I could just picture like Deanne and Diane, like the twins from The Shining.
Yeah.
Just standing there next to each other the whole time.
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder if they wore like matching wedding dresses.
We'll find pictures for the people watching on YouTube and post it like, I don't know, right here.
If we can.
In this little area.
If we can.
Yeah, if we can. But unfortunately, the couple divorced later on in life. And Brady, Deanne's husband, died of ALS in 2009. But before that, before the divorce and death and whatnot, they had 4 children: Kenneth, Amelia, Nicole, and Jordan. Okay? They're going to be key roles later on, so remember those names, maybe.
I probably won't.
Yeah, I won't. Screw that. I barely know, like, my boss's name. But in the early 90s, the couple also adopted 3 children from Romania after a trip to Romania and just seeing the poverty in Romania. There's a lot of homeless kids out there. Like, there's a whole documentary. It's pretty insane where the kids are doing a bunch of stuff to just stay alive.
To cope with everything. Yeah.
But those kids were Alexandra, Michael, and Daniela. That's a lot of kids to take care of without a husband. But yeah, that's a lot of kids to take under your wing, I guess. But it's fairly common, as you've seen in Mormon religion, to have a lot of kids, right, or something like that. But according to a 1991 Washington Post, Deanne adopted these kids as a toddler after visiting Romania. And she told the Post that Alexandra's mother had asked her to take him, like came up to her and was like, "Here, please take my baby," because she didn't have the money to raise the kids. According to the newspaper, 4 of Deanne's 10 other siblings also adopted children from Romania. So that's like a whole startup trip to Romania to bring some kids back to America.
It's a lot.
That's crazy.
I'm impressed.
Yeah.
I think that's an incredible feat. And if it's for the right intentions and the children are treated well, that's amazing.
But yeah, that's a pretty expensive grocery bill. Oh, bless you.
My loud sneeze.
Your sneezes scare me.
We can't keep that in, or it'll scare the...
It'll wake someone. It'll wake up the people that like listen to this while they're driving. But yeah, it's definitely impressive that she was able to pull that one off.
So Deanne's widowed in the 90s after her husband is, they get divorced and then her husband tragically dies. But the thing is, she has, what is it, 6 kids to take care of?
Yeah, around there. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I don't know.
Yes.
Around there. A lot of kids.
No, 7 kids to take care of. So she has 7 kids to take care of, 3 adopted. I mean, that's a huge grocery bill. That's a lot of mouths to feed
a lot of money.
And take care of. I mean, it's pretty impressive that she was able to get through all of that and make it happen. And I really can't imagine how tough that would be. So definitely credit to Deanne on that one. So in the early 1990s is when Deanne started back up in her passion for sewing as well. She first started selling clothes herself when she was walking through an LA flea market and walked past a wholesale where they were selling overstock items from big name brands at a discount, kind of like a Nordstrom Rack or a TJ Maxx. According to her, when seeing this, the thought occurred to her that she could make some profit if she bought a bunch of these clothes and then hosted clothing parties that she would throw with friends and family and be able to make a profit from by selling these clothes. She claims when she did this a couple of times, she sold over 300 items, which is a lot of overstock for sure. As much as we dislike the structure of MLM companies, the one thing that I do respect about this story is Deanne's tenacity. That is, if this story is a true story, the fact that she was able to make that happen just by, hustling and throwing parties and selling clothes after she, was widowed, kind of a single mom, it seems. I mean, that's...
Yeah. I mean, she grew up in fashion, so it kind of makes sense. She kind of knows how the fashion industry works to some extent through bridal dresses.
Yeah, definitely. She kind of did grow up around it.
Yeah.
Although I do think it's interesting how conveniently when she talks about her story, she uses those magic MLM buzzwords like being able to stay at home and run a business. But for the next 20 years or so, Deanne held these dress parties in different homes in the Mormon enclaves of Utah, Nevada, Arizona, and California.
Nevada. You said that pretty
Nevada.
Fancy.
I mean, why? Okay.
I've never said Nevada before. Nevada.
Okay. As a side hustle for herself. As word of mouth among stay-at-home moms spread and her business became more successful, she started calling herself the Dress Lady. She gained a ton of popularity through word of mouth and decided to make a website. Most of her sales were through hosting Christmas and Easter parties, though I think it would be a little upsetting if I was like invited to a Christmas party or an Easter party and all of a sudden
have
like
this lady going by the name of Dress Lady being like, hey.
Yep. Although, that's what MLM parties are now today. So it's like, you can kind of see where it's all started. And
just having like a lady come in and be like, hey, try and buy this like Grammy Brooke Visa or whatever it's called, like the really gross like 90 dresses that were pretty faddish back then.
Mm-hmm.
But
and you do have to wonder how much of that story is true.
Yeah, there's not a lot of witnesses for.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's some. I mean, some of the parties that she hosted and stuff. Those hostesses. I don't know, the people that hosted parties, they ended up integrating themselves into LuLaRoe and became big roles.
So she was kind of already starting to build a network.
Yeah.
And I do think it's definitely a creative concept because, like usually when you see stuff like that, what most people would think is to start a boutique to like resell those clothes but at a boutique. Instead, she was like, instead of spending money on renting out a space and all that, I'm just gonna like kind of off the books host these parties and
screw it,
and so it is kind of creative. And she's building that network that kind of helps her out later.
So now we're going to get into the relationship that started it all, how LuLaRoe started picking up traction. So that's going to move on to Deanne's next marriage. And once again, she found the love of her life in 1998. Deanne married Mark Stidham, who was a divorced father from Corona, California, who was a construction worker. He wasn't a construction worker. He was a builder. He was in charge of overseeing all of construction. And that's really all the info that there is to Mark Stidham. He was a divorced father in a lot of debt from the divorce, had a couple kids, and that's pretty much it. So I tried searching around for more, but couldn't really find it. And he's not really that important to me either.
Mm-hmm. So, the only thing he's really, really seen frequently in are LuLaRoe promo videos alongside Deanne.
Like, look, this is a family video. I have my husband with me. But according to public records, Deanne worked for Mark's company, actually, for a while. As Mark's company was called Advanced Concrete Structures. And she worked as a secretary until she started LuLaRoe. It's funny because, like, from the videos I watched of her, she doesn't mention this at all. She makes it sound like that she was in the fashion business and that was, like, her sole.
That she was able to make a full-time income from just hustling and hosting parties.
You were a secretary.
Just like you can.
Yeah, you worked for your husband, man.
Yeah, and that just shows so much about the facade of MLMs. I mean, the fact that even the founder was like, I make so much money off of doing this and you can too. When in reality, she didn't even make money off of her own business model.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
It's funny too because a little bit more diving in, Deanne was actually involved in an MLM like about 10 years before LuLaRoe kicked off. In 2006, she was a rep for Nu Skin, which is like a skin company, which you haven't done a video on them yet.
I did. I mentioned them in, though, I want to say MLMs that no one talks about. I think that's the video where I mentioned them.
But she worked for Nu Skin as a debtor. So that's kind of like her foot into the MLM world. She probably picked up some concepts from them. But since Nu Skin is headquartered in Utah and it's predominantly a Mormon founded company, it kind of makes sense that she'd work there too. And you can see like around that time a lot more MLM companies in Utah that are Mormon based started to
pop up.
Yeah, they just started popping up.
Because I think it's one of those like network effects, where there's already so many companies that are MLM companies in Utah. So
just gaining connections throughout. They're all intermingled.
Yep, exactly. It's all connected. And so it's easier to start an MLM company there.
It's like a CrossFit breeding ground for MLMs. Good old Utah. Just stop, guys. If y'all in Utah and you see something happening, who do you let know for MLMs?
The FTC.
Yeah, just let the FTC know if you see if you see an MLM happening, like the early stages of MLM. Just call up the FTC homies.
I mean, why do you think the anti-MLM community exists? It's like the FTC can't always do stuff because legally a lot of MLMs are allowed, or, you know, you have to kind of really, you know, go through the process to find something a pyramid scheme, since it's so easy for, you know, them to kind of blur the lines and try and make it a legitimate network marketing company, which it isn't always. Yeah. So around 6 years later, Deanne got more into designing when she, according to her, made her own maxi skirts for her daughter, Nicole, as she was still doing these, like, you know, fashion parties.
And as while being a secretary for a construction business that she doesn't talk about. So she made the decision that instead of just buying overstock wholesale designer clothes to resell, she would transition into her own kind of design with the maxi skirts. And It ended up as a decent side gig for her until that side gig eventually transitioned into LuLaRoe. Lularoe.
LuLaRoe.
It sounds like Rolo's, like the candy.
Yeah.
I always stutter on those words.
After selling almost 300 of her skirts in 3 days, Mark told Deanne that she could make a killer business out of this. And I don't know if you picked up on this, but they use the number 300 a lot. It's like
let's make some conspiracy off of it. Like, let's add up like 300, you know, multiply by like 69 and like, oh,
yeah.
Deanne was born in 1941, and if you add all those up, it equals like 666. So she is the devil herself.
No.
Conspiracies.
No.
Reddit, do your thing.
No. But it is an interesting trend. So, like, you know, Maureen, the mom, sold those like femininity courses for 300. What was it like? Deanne would do the fashion parties and make. She sold 300
pieces of clothing in a day.
Yeah, exactly. She's now sold 300 of her skirts in 3 days. It's just like 300 is this trend that you keep seeing. It's just like,
it's not too high, but not too low. Like if you just sell like 100 or something in a day, it's just like, okay, what the hell ever, man. Like 10 people bought 10.
300 sounds believable.
Yeah.
So that's where you have to wonder how much of these stories are made up, because they constantly use the number 300. And it's like, proof. Are you just pulling this out of your booty? Like, what are you doing?
Straight booty facts.
Yeah. So that's interesting. Something else I have to once again point out is just the fact that Deanne is like founding a company. You know, her mom like worked at the bridal shop and like led an anti-feminist movement, yet they're all like, the family had these extremely anti-feminist beliefs about women not leading.
But there's a lot of women in the family that are leading a whole lot of crap.
Yeah, I mean, Deanne ran this shiz, you know? She was the one that led the way and started LuLaRoe.
Yeah.
It's so funny how it's like, but your women can't lead, but you know, they're the kind of the ones. Yeah.
Buy my program for $300.
I mean, even in the company LuLaRoe, you can see those same values instilled. Like marriage was valued in the company between distributors. And it's, you know, a lot of the company events, like the men, your husbands should come and join you and be a part of it and involved. So it's interesting. You can see those same values kind of in the LuLaRoe company, those like anti-feminist values. Yeah, in a way, the women were leading everything. It's an interesting combo. Kind of ironic.
For real. So according to Deanne, this is pretty much how LuLaRoe got started. It just kind of like a snowball effect. It started off with the skirts, the wholesale clothes, all that stuff, and 20 years later or so, she had this like giant radius for dress parties ranging from Utah, Nevada, Arizona, California, with her sister Diane and some more party hosts and her wholesale business. It was apparently a seamless transition, if you ask me, into like the whole networking and whatnot.
I mean, she already had a network built, so it makes sense.
It's funny because according to some of the early party hosts, there was already some MLM, multi-level marketing, like pyramid-esque scheme vibes to it already. Deanne would come to her friends and pretty much pressure them into buying crazy amounts of her clothing, like $5,000 worth of her wholesale clothes, which goes on later into buying $5,000 worth of leggings and stuff. Yeah. And they claim through interviews through like BuzzFeed, Business Insider, and whatnot, they claim that they didn't make their money back at all. Like, here, it's just how a pyramid scheme works, honestly.
Yeah.
So going back to an interview that one of the early party hosts and Deanne's like little ring of parties, this is her interview right here. She says that her parties always seemed a little chaotic and unorganized to me. I only hosted them because I felt pressured by her to do so, and also because of the free skirts I would get. And this party host would say that Deanne asked if she wanted to sign up for her new venture on LuLaRoe, and
she balked. What is that even? I haven't seen that word in such a long time.
I either copied it from somewhere or I just felt like being fancy.
She balked.
But yeah, for one, she was a new mom, and around $5,000 in startup costs were too expensive, for the lady.
I mean, yeah. So
like $5,000, like that's a lot.
So with any MLM,
buy like a grandfather clock with that.
Yes. So with any MLM, you have those starter packages that you have to purchase in order to be a distributor. And so that's kind of like a common practice. I mean, obviously, because MLMs run on only their recruits purchasing the product and being the product. But $5,000 is one of the most expensive startup fees that we've seen. It's insane. But I think in a weird way, it kind of added to the hype of LuLaRoe, because it like added to this idea of like exclusivity to join, and you had to be really serious about it, and it felt like a legitimate business because you're spending so much to join.
Yeah,
like
it's like,
so you feel like this is legit. I'm really investing here, and so in a way, I wonder if psychologically it actually contributed to the success.
Actually, but as the interview went on, she said that one of the many reasons why I didn't join at the beginning was because Deanne seemed unorganized and honestly a little bit unstable. I was nervous to have to work with and trust someone like that. So there's already trust issues going on with Deanne, which it gets worse. And the pyramid scheme already seemed like it. The pyramid scheme already seemed to be set even before it was a scheme. Funny. And of course, the biggest thing about MLMs is that it created divide in the family. Like, some family members and Deanne's family didn't want to do it, and Deanne said, okay, screw you guys, and just X'd them out.
Which, surprise.
Yeah.
An MLM causing tension within the family because family members don't want to join in on the business scheme?
Crazy.
Surprising. Originally, interestingly enough, and this is something I had no idea about before Riley found this out, her twin sister, Deanne's twin sister, Diane, was her right-hand boss babe, and they went about their newfound love and hope of starting LuLaRoe together pretty strong.
Yeah.
However, the twins' alleged business dealings and apparently even their relationship completely fell apart. Diane's daughter-in-law, Whitney, said that LuLaRoe completely fractured the family, which I'm sure for Mormons especially is an extremely important thing and strongly embedded into the Mormon culture. So I'm sure that was devastating for the family. And apparently Diane and Deanne don't talk at all anymore. Can you imagine going from having a double wedding together to
marrying
not
cousins?
talking?
Yeah,
marrying cousins to
that
not
so
talking anymore because of an MLM. And guys, when people like talk about the bad aspects of MLMs, it's because crap like this happens all the time. Families literally get torn apart because someone doesn't want to be involved in an MLM, or, you know, you go into business together and screw one of each other over, and just like all of that stuff. It's so toxic for families and friendships. And That's a huge problem that has persisted for a long time. So I'm really not surprised, unfortunately. Also, I just kind of realized, I wonder if that's why Mormons are kind of the perfect target demographic for MLMs, or why so many MLMs happen within the Mormon religion or in Utah.
You already have a strong network.
Yeah, because like they have strong family. Like they're known at least for having really strong, well-connected families and being really involved socially. So it's such an easy, social group to get MLMs into because, friends and family networks are already established. I'm sure it's harder for them to say no.
Totes and goats.
Deanne has not spoken publicly about the state of her relationship with Diane, her twin sister, but said on October in 2019. But said in an October 2019 video that she had not been close to her twin sister for a long time.
Nice.
A spokesperson for LuLaRoe declined to comment on or verify the twins' partnership and called it unrelated to the business.
Rest in peace. So, damn, already breaking off ties. You're not even into this business yet. Yeah. And you're already breaking off ties.
Yeah.
But now we're going to get into the business with the Lularoe Takeoff. So on January 25th, 2013, Mark and Deanne filed for a LLC for LuLaRoe, and by that August, LuLaRoe had opened their first home office in Corona, staffed by Deanne's son, Kenneth, who was the VP of sales, her daughter, Amelia, the brand ambassador, and Amelia's husband, Justin, who was the chief marketing officer, and Deanne's son, Jordan, who was the head of leadership and cultural development. So you just have all family members just plugging away.
It's one away. Benefit for having a ton of children is you can just
you just like popping up kids, be like, okay, cool. Well, you're going to work for me.
Have them join your pyramid scheme, and
join my pyramid scheme.
Already, you have a ton of recruits. So.
Yeah, and they're probably naive too.
Oh yeah,
they grew up in this crap.
If my mom started an MLM company, it's like you feel obligated to join. Like I would feel obligated, as against MLMs as I am. I would struggle with it because it's like you want to support your mom on their business adventures. Mm-hmm. It's weird. I probably wouldn't in the end, and I'd try and educate her on MLMs and all that. But it would still be a tough thing.
It'd be rough.
Yeah.
So Jeff Thompson, Nicole's husband, who was Deanne's daughter. Nicole's husband was the vice president of finance before he and his wife launched their own MLM business for kids' clothes called Smile.
And that's what's interesting is the founder of Market America worked in Amway for a while, and you see that countless times where it's always people that worked within MLMs that start more MLMs. I think it's doTERRA. The people there worked in Young Living for a while too. Yeah,
and they broke off.
Like MLMs create more MLMs, and more people found it, and it's just it's so
like
bad.
COVID, man, just infectious.
Needs to stop, please. Yeah, exactly. They're people at the top are making insane amounts of money. I'm not going to work for them. I'm going to start my own scheme too.
Yeah. Because they know the bullshit behind it. They know that if they stay in the position that they're in now. Of course, if you're working on the corporate side, you're not a consultant, so you're not losing money, but you're seeing it happen, and
you're like, I could be making a lot more money though if I'm at the top of this, and at that 1%. Yeah.
Yep. So, anyways, many other relatives of Deanne and Mark's family tree became consultants by the end of 2013. So they have a pretty hefty following already, and they're barely even selling any clothing. So around this time in 2013, they had 100 consultants and was earning a few $1 million in revenue just within the first year.
Yeah, all from their kudos. Family and direct, relatives and friends and network joining in. And that's, I guess, the benefit of having a strong network with this stuff, and why certain people are able to start it and be successful. And, yeah.
So meanwhile, in 2013, Deanne's sister, I always get them mixed up, filed for an LLC in her own MLM called Honey and Lace, which is now called Piphany. 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 Fun. In 2019, LuLaRoe sued Piphany and several ex-consultants, claiming that Piphany was essentially stealing their consultants. So that's some shady stuff. Like, your sister goes off to, like, you have a sister, right? But your sister goes off to make her own YouTube channel, okay? And you start seeing, like, your subs, for some reason, unsubscribing to you and moving over to her channel, and you try suing her for it, which obviously is like, it can't happen in the YouTube world, but you get the concept.
Yeah, I mean, in a way, like, I don't know. It's like, if I was already, which I assume they were already kind of on bad terms, so right. I'm sure that just kind of pissed her off more. But I mean, just going to the point where you sue your own sister and, like, go after your own sister, it's really, I don't know.
Yeah.
Really shitty to me, I guess. Like, I would never sue my own family members because, they were, like, I don't know,
did something else,
copying with me,
because they're different.
Yeah, I don't know. Especially if her sister wanted to go off and, like, start her own branch. It's like, she has a right to.
Deanne kind of proved that she's a pretty toxic person to work around. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't want to work for her.
Mm-hmm. So, and in February 2019, LuLaRoe announced the two companies have come to a resolution on this, mediated by their attorneys.
Probably
so
just
these
paid them.
Sisters couldn't even talk to each other. They had to get, like,
hire attorneys
to mediate, to all of it. It's just like, gosh. So toxic. And I kind of feel bad because it's like going from, like, being close twin sisters to just a totally ruined relationship. So in 2014, after all of this turmoil, Deanne made her Facebook post saying that her business has officially launched. Good old Facebook, the cause of pretty much all the MLM madness that we know about today. After LuLaRoe launched its signature buttery soft leggings in 2014, the company really just exploded. I remember when I first heard about LuLaRoe, I was doing personal training, and this one adorable client of mine who I love so much, but she was, like, a little bit older. I remember she was in her 60s. And she, like, was like, oh, I'm going to wear my LuLaRoe leggings for the holidays that were coming up, because it was, like, Christmas.
Hell yeah.
And she was like, I only wear my LuLaRoe leggings for special occasions. Ew. And I was like, what is this, creepy. Like, Lululemon or something? Like, is it, like, super high end? I got super confused. So she wore her LuLaRoe leggings, and I remember it was, like, this ugly Santa print. Oh, so it had, like, little Santas all over it, and that's why. I've seen those before. Yeah, and that's why she wanted to, like, reserve it for holidays, obviously. And then she was like, feel how soft these are.
Feel my legs.
Feel them. And, like, I was already, like, uncomfortable because, I normally wouldn't do that. But I was like, okay, really? And I felt it, and I was like, these feel so cheap and thin. They feel like the leggings that I would, like, that you could get at, like. Yeah, that you could get at, like, TJ Maxx or something for $4.
They feel like the ShamWow guy just, like, wrung out, the shit water, the poop water that he uses. The infomercial, the ShamWow guy, he, like, wrings out, like, dirty water and, like, shakes it and it's dry.
Yeah.
He did that and just threw it on a lady and said, boom, LuLaRoe. Yeah. Buttery soft.
Yeah.
Because it feels like microfiber.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I was going with that.
Yeah, interesting. But the brand's core customer base was all moms, and it's kind of easy to understand why LuLaRoe appealed to them when you look at it from a brand perspective. The clothes were affordable, around $25 a pair, and comfortable. It was easy to pull on for school drop-offs and perfect for running after speedy cars in your neighborhood or taking a trip to Starbucks to yell at some employees. Just kidding.
No, you're not.
Overall, the brand had a feeling of practicality, comfortability, and body positivity for mothers when not a lot of brands were preaching that. So the branding was definitely a good fit for the demographic they were going for. It's kind of sad And it's kind of sad that they had such a predatory business model where people lost massive amounts of money and went into debt and had thousands of stock of LuLaRoe sitting around, because I think the other aspects that a lot of these moms identified with were like positive things that were missing in the market. So the branding was definitely a good fit for the demographic. Oh wait, I already said that.
Nice.
I also think that moms selling clothes to other moms is a great concept, like just in the fact that there's no mom shaming or body shaming, and you're able to speak with people who understand your concerns and life needs as a busy working mom,
Right.
or just like a busy
Or
mom.
stay-at-home mom. It's a pretty
Stay-at-home
solid
moms
job.
are working too.
Yeah.
So I can see, in that sense, I can see why it took off and became so massive. I mean, I'm sure that like customers felt that sort of comfort when they were shopping that they hadn't really felt in other avenues, like going into a department store. And many early reviews of the clothes came from gushing fans saying that for the first time in a long time, they felt beautiful and confident. Add in the fact that the clothes could be purchased while scrolling through Facebook at home, providing a shopping outlet for women in more rural areas, and the Stidhams. I can't say that name for some reason. Anyways, you know who I'm talking about.
Sure.
Deanne and Mark, right? That's the dad's name?
Mm-hmm.
Found themselves a hit.
That's a dangerous game, having moms shop on Facebook.
Oh, yeah, that is true also.
So they had a total hit and a miss, in my opinion. They started off really big and just took a giant dump. They just fell off the edge of the world. But inside the world of LuLaRoe, there's just a lot of shady stuff that's happening in the inner workings. When early consultants and employees of LuLaRoe met Deanne, they really liked her. You know, she put on a good front, really good front. They said in interviews that she would just come over and talk to them like a normal person, and like text them after hours on see what they're doing, go lunch with them, you know, just be like a pretty positive influence on them. But they say that the second LuLaRoe started booming like hardcore, like in the
insane growth,
multi-million dollar revenues,
just making insane amount of money,
she really changed for the worse. So now we're going to be talking about the eagle. God. Now we're going to be talking about the ego and the crumble of LuLaRoe and Deanne and Mark and the whole family, and
I know,
and the 300 everything.
That's the problem when you involve your family
and 300
in a business.
The cast from 300 was actually there to support the 300 multi stuff that they're selling.
Yeah, I mean, that's the problem is when you involve your family in business, it's like if the business fails, all of your family goes down too. It's like,
and now you're just like the kingpin of just a shit show,
massive failure.
Yeah. So Deanne's personality took a turn for the worse when she started blowing up. You know, it was said by multiple employees that she became a complete jerk. Like she would freak out over little messes because it triggered her, and she no longer would have these nice relationships with her employees, like the texting or like going out to lunch, asking them how they're doing. You know, she just went into full asshole mode, sicko mode. And and it got to the point where managers and the LuLaRoe company would tell employees to stay the hell away from there, because stay the hell away from her, because she didn't want to see them at all. That's pretty toxic, just isolating yourself from her. And the list goes on. It gets really wacky. So she was definitely two-faced, just a really two-faced individual. Just imagine you come into work and like your boss is just like, you're your own boss because you're financially work at home.
But within the LuLaRoe corporate ladder and
within
all that.
in corporate, like your boss is like, oh hey, how you doing, like Karen,
being super friendly, like super nice, involving themselves in your life. And then all of a sudden, they just completely
Don't talk
change.
to me. Clean up your desk.
They just have this ego power trip.
You're too fat. Yeah. And it's really messed up. It's screwed up. But it gets worse, though. It gets really worse. So when Deanne started LuLaRoe, she wanted her representatives to fit her perfect description. You know, the classic 5'8" model-esque type individual, you know, skinny waist. You know, you get the picture.
So she wanted her consultants to like have a body type?
Yeah.
To have a specific body
have like
type?
specific body type. Well, it's honestly just so stupid because, you know, the whole magic of LuLaRoe, it's supposed to be like an open company, you know. You're supposed to have like women of all body types, you know, moms and stuff, and different kinds of people like selling to other real moms, you know.
It's like women were able to speak with and buy from women that looked just like them instead of like the, you know, Victoria's Secret that has all the like perfect Victoria's Secret models or whatever. Not perfect, but you know, the ideal body type or whatever. Yeah. And it's like, instead of walking into like a Victoria's Secret and feeling awkward about your body and shamed, you know,
you can go to like, these dress parties and stuff and LuLaRoe parties and feel welcome because there's all different kinds of people there.
Yeah, exactly. Real people.
Yeah. Anyways, some consultants reported that they were pressured by Deanne and Brady, or her sister, because her sister, believe it or not, Leanne, whatever her name is, was working there too, told a lot of the consultants to go to Tijuana, Mexico. Tijuana, they have some history with Young Living and stuff. Yeah.
I mean, it's just crazy. It's so funny how these MLM like founders also are involved in shady medical companies.
Yeah, in different
Gary
countries.
Young, Deanne.
Yep, Gary V.
In Mexico.
Yeah, but she would tell Leanne and Deanne would tell the consultants to go to Mexico and get weight loss surgery. Sam Solch, the sister's nephew, explained Leanne charged the consultants $5,000. But the surgery only cost $4,000. So she was pocketing that $1,000 for every consultant she would send to Tijuana. And, you know, they would pay her through PayPal. She gets the cut, and then they go to Mexico. It's really messed up. And the sisters referred to themselves as the Tijuana Skinnies.
I believe that's what the group was called, too. Like, they would group chat with consultants and peer pressure them into signing up, and like everyone signing up, join the Tijuana Skinnies.
Yeah, don't you want to look like you fit in?
Yeah, like everyone else is losing weight, you know?
Yeah.
Come join us and like, you know, this amazing opportunity. Meanwhile, it's all just a way for the sisters to make a profit.
Yeah, even more money off of
consultants' insecurities.
It's just like, it's messed up too, because like the buy-in for consultants is $5,000 already.
And then they pay another $5,000.
Then you're adding another $5,000. So you're already $10,000 in debt, and you've barely started.
They like numbers. It's really interesting. They do the same numbers every time.
They keep it pretty real.
Yeah.
300, 5,000.
Just consistent.
Yeah.
Every time. I mean, it's also really sad too, because I think that like, you know, when I've talked so much about how MLMs are really similar to cults and the recruitment tactics that they use to get you roped in. And so you can easily see someone at the top who's leading an MLM really abusing their power and being like, okay, this person has said yes to everything else in this company. So I kind of have this power over them. I can get them to, you know, go to Tijuana and get a really dangerous surgery.
It's crazy.
So let's be clear about what's going on here.
That rhymes. Nice.
Deanne, not being happy enough with cheating consultants out of their money through her pyramid scheme with the product, LuLaRoe, ended up forming the Tijuana Skinnies to make $1,000 a pop for sending independent consultants to Mexico to have a surgery that may leave them thinner or even maimed or dead. The Skinny Sisters worked with a clinic called, no joke, Obesity Not For Me.
Gross.
With like the actual letter 4 in the name. Obesity Not For Me was the name of this clinic.
Sounds about right.
If the name alone doesn't convince you that this place is totally legit, try these quotes from their website. Warning, this is a gross quote. In bypass surgery, the Peyton
Manning?
Warning, some of these quotes are gross if you're, triggered by bodily fluids and stuff. So on their website, on Obesity Not For Me's website, it says, in bypass surgery, the patient may have small diarrhea when they eat too much food, or they eat food that contains too much fat. What they're talking about in this and minimizing in this is actually called dumping syndrome. And as the name may have already implied, there's nothing small about it. It can cause nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, rapid or irregular heartbeat, hypoglycemia, and it can require surgical intervention.
Jeez.
They claim that the complications of these procedures are similar to any other abdominal surgery. But that's massively misleading, since other abdominal surgeries seek to cure diseases for health, and this one seeks to take healthy organs and create a diseased state in them for weight loss.
Permanently.
Yeah, permanently.
# worth it.
So the point here is that the founder of LuLaRoe really doesn't care about her consultants, it seems, or at least doesn't care about putting their health at risk.
Not really.
And really only cares about profiting from and pushing her workforce to go on a questionable clinic that is not honest about the potential dangers of surgery, just all for her personal profit. But LuLaRoe, the company itself, has a pretty wide size range. So it's like, It's okay if people of all sizes buy from us. But when it comes to consultants, it's not okay if you're overweight and you have to pay $5,000 to get this surgery. And it's extremely fat phobic and just anti what the message seems to have been preaching the whole time.
What it started on, yeah.
Mm-hmm. On top of that, overweight people have a harder time getting hired or getting promoted or making their way up a corporate ladder.
That's not right.
Yeah, they statistically than people who are thinner, they do get discriminated against, and there's statistics for that. So, MLMs are actually a appealing aspect for people that are dealing with weight problems, because they preach this whole idea of you can be successful and have your own business and make a lot of money no matter who you are, what you look like, all of that. So to have the same company, basically try and take advantage of someone's situation, and then when they get to the top also tell them, fat shame them and be like, you need to get this surgery, is just really wrong.
It's messed up.
Mm-hmm. LuLaRoe was also known for their cruise ships and all these incentives and trips that they would have, but there was also a lot of drama on these trips and gossip, and there was the favored consultants and the not favored, and it seemed like Deanne actually kind of caused a lot of this division. She just seemed like a very gossipy, catty person that encouraged there to be gossip and division within the company, which is just never a good idea. It's just MLMs are already a toxic structure. To throw in gossip and all of this is just really, really bad. So as you can tell, Deanne really took advantage of people within LuLaRoe, didn't care about the ethics of her company or how people were being treated whatsoever. And on top of that, LuLaRoe ended up running into some legal and financial issues. So let's talk about those.
So this is when LuLaRoe takes a turn for the worst. It gets into some pretty fun stuff, pretty big numbers, and it's definitely above 300. So on November 29th, 2018, my dyer filed a lawsuit in Riverside Superior Court alleging that LuLaRoe owed them more than $48 million in unpaid invoices. So my dyer was their main supplier. Whoa. Bars. So anyways, my dyer, they filed a lawsuit with the Riverside Superior Court saying that LuLaRoe owed them more than $48 million in unpaid invoices. Hell yeah. And this included UPS, more than $1 million, a labeling company, $100,000, and a garment supplier $3 million. Based on the lawsuit and their known creditors,
Creditors.
my dyer said they had a reason to believe LuLaRoe was insolvent.
Insolvent?
Yeah. What does that mean?
I don't know.
Oh.
Siri, what does insolvent mean? I'm pretty sure it means that they're like complicit or in not paying back.
Sorry, I didn't catch that.
Nice.
Siri, what does insolvent mean?
As an adjective, it means unable to pay debts owed.
Okay. Yeah. So they're in. Thank you, Siri. They were insolvent, meaning that they weren't able to pay their debts off. Surprise, surprise. But my dyer said that in the suit, LuLaRoe was in serious financial trouble by the end of 2017. Despite this precarious financial situation, my dyer says that LuLaRoe continued to order tens of millions of dollars in inventory throughout 2018. So they're already screwed, but they're still ordering so much more. So much millions of dollars of product.
Like they were probably just taking as much money as they can because
trying
they
to build
knew,
their stock. Yeah.
Well, and also they probably knew it was like collapsing in a way, and so like let's just take as much as we can and run. Like take as much money and run before this all collapses.
Yeah. Instead of paying this company for their millions of dollars of products that they were giving LuLaRoe, LuLaRoe decided to just sell their products and keep the profit. They didn't even pay them back a dime. That's messed up. That's really messed up.
Mm-hmm.
So my dyer claims that LuLaRoe had been using the profits to pay for new products from other suppliers. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So they're just like, okay, we're not going to pay you back. We're just going to go with another company.
Yeah.
That's really shady. That is really shady. Wow. So despite their company's financial turmoil, Madire claims that the Stidhams are still living a lavish lifestyle. You know, their market seems like a big cost to this. You know, It's said that he would spend a lot of money on like really expensive cars. One of them is a $2.1 million Swedish race car that broke a land speed record in 2017. Which you don't need that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You don't need that kind of stuff. You're not living like the Wolf of Wall Street lifestyle, man.
Yeah.
They buy stuff like yachts and stuff and go on these expensive vacations in Colombia and whatnot.
A huge ranch that he owned in Wyoming.
Yeah.
Like
classic. Gary Young did the same
millions
stuff.
And millions. Yeah. Oh yeah. Funny enough, Gary Young was in Wyoming.
It's a trend, man.
Isn't it weird the patterns between founders? It's fascinating. But
classic.
But yeah, it's so bizarre. I think honestly, my theory on this, and like I don't fully know, you know, I'm always learning more about financial, you know, aspects and how, you know, millionaires hide away their money. But what I'm thinking is the reason why Mark bought that expensive car and is buying
assets
so quickly, is to build assets, because instead of having all this money that you're sitting on that the bank can kind of take away, or that people like my dyer can take away and sue from, if you're tying up all your money into assets, it's a lot harder to take.
It's like cashing out your money at a casino. You know, you bring the dirty money to a casino, you cash out, then you have clean money. You know, it's really shady.
Yeah, so it's like tying up the assets so no one can, you know, take it.
Yeah. And there's multiple court documents and just a bunch of stuff just showing like their receipts of purchases and whatnot, their invoices saying that they're not paying them. It's a really bad situation to screw a company over millions of dollars. Millions of dollars. Over crazy. $50 million. That's a lot of money. Mm-hmm. I could buy a lot of stuff with that. We could buy a life supply of yerba mates. By the way, if
sponsor us.
Yeah, sponsor us. What's that company called?
Guayaki. I love them. Their yerba mates are really good.
If you sponsor us, we will have your yerba mates on display.
Not that they aren't already. I should take them down. So no free ads.
No free ads.
Just kidding.
Unless you sponsor us.
Okay, so according to public records, the Stidhams' financial fortunes do seem to have improved drastically since the founding of LuLaRoe. We're not really surprised. They kind of seem like, you know, people that were really just in it for themselves. I mean, screwed over family members, consultants, just everyone to get what they wanted. Mark, in particular, had a really rocky financial past. Both with and without Deanne and his ex-wife, Susan, Mark has been hit with federal or state tax liens, which are really serious in both Utah and California.
Just in Utah and California?
More than 15 times in the past 25 years.
With liens?
Yeah.
Wow.
15 liens?
That's a no-go, my guy.
That is really, really serious.
You have a really low credit score.
Like, we were learning about, homes and everything, and like how to, purchase homes, because we just bought the home that we're living in. And it's like, with a lien on a house, you can never like get rid of the lien. I mean, I think it disappears after a few years.
Yeah,
but
around
it's
10
just
years
like,
it disappears, but still though.
It's like attached to your house. Yeah.
Yeah, if you have a recurring tax lien on whatever property that you have, if you ever try and sell it, it's not going to work out in your favor.
Yeah. And no one wants to buy a house with a lien on it. It's really bad. So it's just a really bad thing to get into, I think. In 1992, California placed a tax lien for $109,582 on a construction company that Mark owned.
It's a lot more than 300.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, kitties.
In 1995, two Utah companies he owned, Stidham Construction and Oso Investments, were hit with a federal tax lien by the IRS for owing more than $460,000 in back taxes.
That's hefty.
He also faced a UCC lien for Stidham Construction. When the Stidhams bought their Corona home in February 2007, they used a nearly $200,000 loan from a relative to pay for it. Probably because their credit score was so low from all the liens that they had to ask a relative for $200,000 to pay for the home.
Yeah, if I was a mortgage broker and I pulled up like your credit, I don't care how much money you have. If you have like all this crap on you, I don't want you getting a mortgage through my company. Yeah.
In 2013, the couple closed a state tax lien against them for $21,252.7 that had been pending since 2008.
Nice.
Deanne was sued by FIA Card Services in 2011 for failing to pay a $7,500 credit card bill.
Yikes.
Oh my God, what?
Good old credit debt.
Why are you doing these?
Never getting credit debt, ladies and gents.
Oh, yeah. The Stidhams also got hit with a federal tax lien from the IRS in 2015 after failing to pay more than $102,000 in taxes.
Wow. Why are you running so much? It's too late for this, kiddies.
My Dyer even claims that the Stidhams created 17 shell entities between July and December of 2017 that feature one or both of the Stidhams as an officer or manager and their address as the office. My Dyer alleges these entities were created in order to hide assets. There we go.
Wow.
Like race cars from creditors. In a declaration in LuLaRoe's countersuit against My Dyer, Mark denies that the entities were fake, saying there is no nefarious or improper purpose as to why...
there's nothing going on here, nothing to worry about.
Nothing to see here, folks.
Yeah.
As to why these entities were formed, and they have no relation to the lawsuit filed against LuLaRoe.
Jeez.
The lawsuit alleges that in September 2018, My Dyer asked Mark to pay up for the unpaid invoices. In court documents, according to My Dyer, Mark said, "Look, guys, I'm not going to pay you guys a fucking dime unless the judge orders me to pay it. And Deanne and I will take our $200 or $300 million to the Bahamas and fuck everything." What a classy
literally?
Dude.
Like, just screw everything?
Yes. Ew. What a classy dude. Gotta love him, right? The lovable LuLaRoe founders.
Guys. Yeah. This is... stupid. These guys are losers, man.
Mm-hmm.
Shame. God, no one buys LuLaRoe now. I mean, people still buy it, but less so. Less people are buying LuLaRoe. So, in his declaration... I can't say this word. In Mark's declaration...
Declaration.
In Mark's declaration.
Oh my gosh. Really?
Oh, jeez. So in Mark's declaration,
Yay!
thanks. It was a rough one. Winget also says that Mark had threatened to take the money and run while they were flying on his jet. Oh, you bought a jet. Congrats, man. In 2018. This is what Winget says. He told me he could jump ship from LuLaRoe and that he would take hundreds of millions of dollars from LuLaRoe and move to Wyoming or the Bahamas with Deanne. That's messed up, man. Winget also says Mark frequently bragged about avoiding California taxes by moving to his Wyoming ranch, and he had to threaten more than once to flee to either Wyoming or out of the country. Wow. Mark also denies this claim in his declaration, calling Winget a disgruntled former LuLaRoe employee whom I terminated. To be clear, my wife Deanne Brady and I do not have and have never had any intention or plans of absconding abroad with money, Mark says. To the contrary, we remain committed to the LuLaRoe business and continue to work daily on the business. Even more, in good conscience, I would never do such a thing given the thousands of people, many whom live and work in Riverside, California, that rely on LuLaRoe for their livelihood. That he really said that after saying all this other crap? It kind of sounds wishy-washy. Like you're saying like, oh, I'm going to screw over LuLaRoe, me and Deanne.
I mean, he said that like, Widget, the, disgruntled employee claims that he said that. So, it's kind of hearsay, it's not something that he 100% said, although I don't doubt it that he did say that. But, for publicity's sake, he's saying, oh, we respect all of our consultants. We love them. They're like family. We're so grateful for them. And we would never disrespect them.
Jeez.
Even though the entire MLM structure is a disrespectful thing.
So on November 2019, LuLaRoe countersued My Dyer for $1 billion, accusing the company of engaging in a systemic year-long scheme to defraud by undelivering and overcharging.
Under-delivering?
Yeah, under-delivering and overcharging LuLaRoe products. What?
So basically they're saying like, well, you under-delivered and overcharged for products.
I get that. But...
Therefore, that's why we didn't pay you back. Even though we entered a contract agreement. I mean, that's how kind of business is done. So it's just kind of like, it's a ridiculous countersuit. And you see that with people like Donald Trump and figures like that, where whenever they get into trouble, they're just like, oh, countersue, as if that's going to solve everything. It's like this bully move of like, you sue me, I'm going to sue you back. Yeah,
it seems like it's a tactic to make the opposition kind of like stand back just a little bit. Not it's trying to like actively pursue. Totally. Because you smack someone with $1 billion while you're trying to sue someone for only a couple $100 million. That's scary business if you lose. So a spokesperson for LuLaRoe claims that it paid My Dyer tens of millions of dollars for products that were ordered but never delivered. And they added, you should note that the company is suing My Dyer for substantially more money than My Dyer is suing LuLaRoe.
Why does that even matter?
It's stupid. But the lawsuit states, to date, My Dyer has refused to account for these products that it failed to deliver and has refused to return the LLR, those monies paid to it for undelivered products. That's stupid, and it's only a couple million.
Yeah, well, it's like they're basically trying to play a he said, she said thing.
Yeah.
Where it's like, okay, well, obviously the My Dyer lawsuit was looking bad for their company. All this information was coming out. Right, so now it's like, well, they did the same thing to us. He said, she said.
And they're not even,
Yeah.
Jeez, it's a little messed up. But the My Dyer case and the ongoing class action lawsuit are the only pending litigations against LuLaRoe. There's multiple more lawsuits. We'll get into another one right now. So another lawsuit was filed by the Washington Attorney General in the early 2019, accusing LuLaRoe that the Stidhams and Deanne's son Jordan of running an unlawful pyramid scheme. Wow, who would have known? LuLaRoe being a pyramid scheme? It's unheard of. And they were scheduled for October of 2020.
The trial.
Yeah, the trial. It's probably not happening because of COVID. Yeah.
Yeah, we are in October, so we'll see how that goes and hopefully keep you guys updated on that, because that would be an interesting turn of events if LuLaRoe is found to be an unlawful pyramid scheme. That would be pretty huge, because what happens is when you have kind of big cases like that from big companies, it's used as an example. So if Washington State was to, or the Washington Attorney General was to win that case, it could be used for other MLMs who are operating in a very similar way and could actually help shut down a lot of really predatory MLMs.
So this could be monumental. Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Not a legal expert, but that's just from what I slightly recall. Of course, if you're a legal expert, definitely let us know your thoughts in the comments.
Totes my goats.
Mm-hmm.
But in 2018 also, LuLaRoe argued that the class action lawsuit should be thrown out because, as part of their consultant agreement, so the consultants had agreed to mediate the alleged dispute prior to initiating litigation. Since they did not do so, LuLaRoe argued the case should be dismissed.
So unfortunately, a judge agreed, moving the case to arbitration. However, there is no ruling as yet whether they were operating an illegal enterprise. In November of 2019, Arnold law firm attorney Josh Watson, who was a lawyer on one of the original consultant class actions, filed a new lawsuit in Sacramento Superior Court
called everywhere.
Yeah, called Belinda Hibbard v. LuLaRoe LLC on behalf of 190 consultants. He is arguing that since LuLaRoe is running an illegal operation, all the contracts should be void, which I agree. Yeah. There's been a lot of talk by former anti-MLMers that people who are consultants in an MLM aren't a victim because they signed a contract. And it's like,
that's still screwed up. You kind of got manipulated into it.
Yeah, you were manipulated into it. It's so victim blaming.
Everyone else is doing it, so you did it.
Yeah. So in court records, LuLaRoe's response to the lawsuits tend to have a pattern. It's basically, they just hate us because we're successful. In response to the original consultant lawsuit, the company states that the plaintiff putative class members leading the change are hoping to shake down LLR for a take of LLR's revenues generated through hard work and ingenuity. It calls LuLaRoe a wild success story. That was also the Stidham stance when they sat down with CBS This Morning in November of 2017. One of the very few interviews they have ever done. Mark went as far as to suggest the complaints were planted by their competitors in the clothing industry.
They're infiltrating us.
Mm-hmm.
Jeez.
He said, I will tell you that we have been incredibly disruptive in the marketplace, and I don't think those are all entirely organic complaints. I've seen a lot of that where people get really successful. I've seen a lot of that where people get really successful and all of a sudden they become so paranoid that like any sort of legitimate complaint is like competitors trying to take them down. You see that in Theranos. Like if you've seen the HBO documentary on like Elizabeth Holmes and Theranos, she has this bizarre like paranoia that like all these competitive lab technology companies are coming after her and like blood technology companies. And it's just like, it just leads to their downfall. I think it's this weird egotistical thing.
It's just like, who's trying to take over LuLaRoe? Freaking Gap?
Yeah.
Like LuLaRoe's ass. Like their products are horrible.
Their products were so bad. It's like, who wants to take that over? Yeah, totally. And it's just very clear that Mark and Deanne's ego, they just got so like clouded by this thought that they're rich and successful, and they just like, you know, they
definitely
logic.
overindulged.
Yeah.
It's unclear what LuLaRoe's financial situation is now or how many active consultants they have, but after all of these hits and lawsuits and news coming out about people's experiences, a lot of consultants left. They got burned. They dropped ship.
Just dipped.
They dipped out, pieced out. I don't know. We're tired, so my sayings are not on point. But you know, and really their consultants just dropped in massive numbers. And now you can go to thrift stores and see LuLaRoe everywhere. Yeah. People are trying to sell their massive stock that they accumulated. A spokesperson for LuLaRoe said approximately 100,000 consultants have worked for the company, but would not say how many remain today. A timeline of LuLaRoe triumphs on its website has not been updated since 2017.
Yeah, it is funny just looking at it. You just see like, oh, much success. Then like 2017, it's just blank.
Yep.
It's been a couple years now.
Kind of sad.
Deanne, where are you?
But it's not really sad. Yeah. Last October, LuLaRoe fired all 167 employees at its Corona warehouse. So you care so much.
Hell yeah.
Claiming about your employees. Claiming it was moving all production to its distribution center in South Carolina, which of course is a bad sign if you have to downsize significantly, which 167 employees is a lot to downsize. In November, it announced it was dropping its buy-in for new retailers to $499 instead of $5,000, the original
struggling.
price. Yeah, so that's how you know they're desperate for new consultants. If the buy-in price is all of a sudden $499, that's how much of a drop is that? I'm not gonna
a lot
do math and pretend.
I'm surprised that's not $300.
Yeah. And most which is kind of frustrating for it's kind of like a huge slap in the face to consultants that have stuck around through all of the turmoil for LuLaRoe. Imagine you're a consultant that paid $5,000. You're like, love this company.
Getting liposuction.
And then it gets, and then all these lawsuits come out and you're like, you know what? I'm going to stick with the company. I'm going to stick it through. And then all of a sudden you find out that new consultants only have to pay $500 to join instead of the $5,000 you paid. I mean, I would be livid. That would be the final straw for me.
I mean, just imagine that you're like the last batch of people that paid the $5,000 buy-in. Yeah. Like you're like literally the last person, and you wake up tomorrow and it's $500. It's like, for some reason, this always happens to me. I always buy like the latest iPhone model, not like all the time, but like every 3 years or so, I buy a new iPhone. Mm-hmm. It seems like literally the next week that I buy my iPhone,
there's like a
new freaking one comes out, and I'm just sitting there like,
and yours is like a lower price,
and people just look at me like, pathetic. You don't even have the new iPhone 20. Loser. But that's how I feel. Mm-hmm. And I'm pretty sure those people feel the same. But $5,000 worth.
Yeah.
So, anyways, a spokesperson for LuLaRoe said, LuLaRoe is excited for this new year. And this is in 2019-ish. LuLaRoe is excited for this new year. With all the amazing new efforts and products we will be launching, we remain loyal to our mission to scam people, obviously, and cannot wait to see what the future holds in all these lawsuits and millions of dollars that they need to owe and firing employees. I can't wait to either, Karen. Jeez. So on LuLaRoe's internal messaging and social media accounts, the brown, yeah, because they're shit stained. The brand also appears to be operating as if everything is normal. Deanne is still a frequent Instagrammer, posting her daily musings frequently to her stories. Just LuLaRoe products.
I have to check that out.
No, her account is private.
Oh,
dang. Yeah. She didn't accept me either.
Oh.
I'm still on the wait list.
Really?
Yeah.
Bummer.
Yeah. But my other page. Hell yeah. So she's just like playing facade now. She's posting like, oh, life is Gucci. Like, smile through the pain, boys.
Yeah.
So like back before when we were talking about the cruise ships and whatnot, they're with another charter or whatever they're called. But this year they went out on a new cruise to test it out in anticipation of hosting the Lularoe Top Consultants in 2020.
It's like no one shows up.
No one's
They're
going
just by
freaking
themselves.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
in the cruise ship.
Party it up, man. It's pretty
Karma.
sick.
It's fucking karma.
So in a recent story, Deanne also showed off her outfit of the day. It was a new kimono in the collection, which she called Chloe. LuLaRoe is just in a boiling mess. They're
I mean, everyone
bully for
knows that
them.
the company is a massive failure at this point, no matter how much they try and hide it, and just the amount of bad publicity that's come out about the truth about the company and mainly the founders' actions. I mean, it just shows, like, you know, what you do will turn around and bite you in the ass.
Bites you straight in the butt.
Treat people poorly.
Preferably the left butt cheek.
I think, you know, when talking about this story, because I always like to kind of end on interesting takeaways, I feel like this story is kind of a cautionary tale about letting success get to your head.
Heard that one before.
And that taking advantage of people in the end can lead to your very demise. I mean, Mark and Deanne kind of let the success get the best of them.
Yeah.
You just see, like, you know, Deanne had an impressive early life where she battled a lot of hardships and continued working to try and succeed. And it seems like in the end, she just threw that all away and took advantage of her friends, family, and loved ones and just tossed everyone aside.
Yeah, it definitely turned into a bad egg.
Yeah, and treating people like that in the end is the very thing that led all of her success to crumble and fall apart. The founders ended up being kind of the perfect candidates to start an MLM company. At every turn, they took advantage of their family and friends for their own gain, and it only makes sense that they would start an MLM company that does the exact same thing. Yeah, so that's the end of the story on the founders of LuLaRoe. If you made it to the end and you're on YouTube, comment pineapple pizza down below.
Just comment. I was thinking about this.
Okay, he's got a theory for us.
Just comment apple pizza.
Apple pizza?
Apple pizza.
Okay. Interesting.
It's pizza but with apples.
Okay.
It's pretty much like an apple pie but with marinara.
Interesting.
So,
never tried it, but
me neither, and I never
let's
will.
do it.
But you know, it feels like people will catch on to the pineapple pizza trend. We'll keep it going. Like if you want to comment pineapple pizza, it's your life. Go for it. But I'll give you extra kudos. I'll give you a thumbs up. How about that?
Oh my gosh.
I'll give you a thumbs up and a
my
like
gosh.
if you comment apple pizza.
What a cringy dude. Okay.
Screw you.
All right. Well, we'll see you guys in the next podcast.
Or
Hope
will
you're
ya?
all doing well and catch you on the flippity flip.
Flippity flop. Hell yeah.